All right, big win for Christians on this Thanksgiving week. The United States Supreme Court barred the government of New York State from enforcing certain restrictions on places of worship, whether it's Christian, Jewish. Now, of course, this is being instituted by the government of New York, primarily under Andrew Cuomo, because we're in the middle of a pandemic and they need to. I mean, our politicians need to restrict the churches and temples and synagogues because, man, it's just going to spread like crazy over there. One of the lies that they're telling you is that this is unprecedented. This pandemic is not unprecedented. Let's look at U.S. history. 1793, yellow fever struck the United States hard, came in from the Caribbean, really hit Philadelphia pretty hard. How many people in Philadelphia died during the yellow fever crisis of 1793? 10% of the city died. Did they shut down churches, temples, synagogues? Of course not, because that would be against the Constitution of the United States of America. How about the cholera pandemic of 1832 to 1866? This came in 3 waves. It started in India and spread across the entire globe. In large cities in the United States, between 5 to 10% of the populations died. Did they shut down churches, temples, and synagogues? Of course they did not. What about 1858 when scarlet fever was going around? Did they shut things down? Of course they didn't. How about 1906 to 1907 when Typhoid Mary was hitting primarily in New York? Did they shut things down then? Of course they didn't. What about 1918 H1N1 flu? Did they shut down churches, synagogues, and temples then? No, they did not. How about 1921 to 1925 when they had the diphtheria epidemic? Did they shut it down then? Of course they didn't. What about 1916 to 1955 when they had the polio issue? How about 1957 H2N2? By the way, 1.1 million deaths from that worldwide, 116,000 in the United States. That was in 1957. Right now, that outbeats what's going on with the coronavirus pandemic, at least percentage-wise. Did they shut down churches, temples, and synagogues then? Of course they didn't, because they understood that the Constitution of the United States of America protects religious freedoms and that no law can be made restricting that. I mean, look at the Constitution. See, when you're in the Supreme Court, your job is to look at the Constitution and try to figure out if any legislation or law is passed that would restrict the rights that are protected in the Constitution. Now, sometimes it's not always clear, and they really have to look at the words and figure out what were the founders trying to do here. So let's take a look at Amendment 1. Here it is, right at the start of the entire thing. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. No law. And it doesn't matter when. There can be a pandemic, there can be asteroids falling, there could be anything going on. At no point ever should they be establishing a law that would prohibit the free exercise thereof. And the question is Andrew Cuomo, now of course he's not Congress, but again, this is why we have a Supreme Court, because they're supposed to look at this and try to figure out what did the founders of the country, what were they trying to establish with these protections? Should Andrew Cuomo be able to pass legislation that literally is restricting the free exercise of individuals' religious beliefs to go to church? And the answer is obviously no, according to the Constitution of the United States. But of course, we had a 5-4 split, meaning 4 individuals on our Supreme Court looked at that in the Constitution and somehow rationalized in their mind that, well, during a pandemic, it's fine, even though during all of these other pandemics, it never happened because they understood the Constitution of the United States. Well, it's a good thing that we have some good individuals on the Supreme Court right now, including Amy Coney Barrett, who replaced Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth Bader Ginsburg being a part of a previous decision earlier in the year that did allow the governments of the United States, a couple of governments that were involved, to restrict the rights of religious freedom and gathering in places of worship. But now that has been overturned because, of course, she is gone and Amy Coney Barrett is in, which is a wonderful thing because now we are protecting the rights of the American people. And this opinion coming from Gorsuch, which I love, he said, "It is time, past time, to make plain that while pandemics pose many grave challenges, there is no world in which the Constitution tolerates color-coded executive edicts that reopen liquor stores and bike shops but shutter churches, synagogues, and mosques. So at least according to the governor, it may be unsafe to go to church, but it is always fine to pick up another bottle of wine, shop for a new bike, or spend the afternoon exploring your distal points and meridians. This was from Gorsuch, and he also said, who knew that the public health would be so perfectly aligned with secular convenience? Even in a pandemic, the Constitution cannot be put away and forgotten. The restrictions at issue here, by effectively barring many from attending religious services, strike at the very heart of the First Amendment's guarantee of religious freedom. I don't know about you all, but I've been out shopping. I go to my local grocery store, Walmart and stuff. There are people everywhere, all over the place. I mean, I'm maybe even thousands of people in my local Walmart. There's no restrictions going on there. Everyone's floating around doing whatever they want, but then they put the restrictions on these places of worship. We did have Barrett, Gorsuch, Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Kavanaugh in the 5-4 decision agreeing with the places of worship. If there's one good thing coming out of at least this election season, now, of course, President Donald Trump is still fighting the legal battle to stay as the president of the United States. He's fighting a very uphill battle right now because we have the FBI, CISA, the CIA, all the rest of them, all completely in on this entire thing. Don't want to investigate anything, no matter what's going on, no matter what's found. So he's just got his legal team alone and his supporters helping him out. So we don't know what's going to happen. What will God allow to occur? God may allow this to happen. We don't know. You know, God has a perfect plan. We just want to be a part of it. So as we pray and we make sure that we're in alignment with his will, Lord, whatever it is you got, I want to be right there with you. So he's in control. Don't worry about it. Do not fear. But one thing we do really have that the Lord helped out with is putting in these conservatives in the Supreme Court to make sure that we are protected in these rights. And that is a good thing. The next thing to look forward to is what's going to happen with the Senate. There's going to be a runoff in Georgia. 2 seats are up for grabs. This could decide if the Senate is going to be under conservative Republican control or if it's going to switch to Democrat liberal control, which could be a big deal because if it does, then they would have the presidency, the House of Representatives, and the Senate. And there's some little funny business ways that they can actually get a lot more bills through. Even though they wouldn't have the 60 votes to do things, there's certain things they can do to actually make it just a majority vote. And I guarantee you they will do those things. So those runoffs are really big. Hopefully the Republicans win at least one of them and then maintain the majority in the Senate.